Hello again, you're welcome to another edition of the Buena Vista Homes Real Estate Show with me, Efi Afuswa. The show is proudly sponsored by Buena Vista Homes, where homes are not built but crafted. We are streaming live on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube as well. Please do also subscribe to our YouTube channel just so you don't miss any of our episodes. Right, so this is part 2 in relation to our conversation on the building process. And earlier in part 1 of this conversation, we spoke about the various stages, including the feasibility stage, the design stage, the pre-construction stage, down to the procurement stage, where you get the contractor and the people who would be doing the project for you. Today, we continue with a conversation on the construction phase, and I have with me, to my I have Kabina Nyako, and to my extreme left, I have Samuel Ewu. They are the brains behind the Buena Vista Homes brand. So all the beautiful structures you've been seeing, these are the finest brains behind them. They deserve an applause, don't they? Right. Good to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
It's great we get to continue with this conversation,
sure,
because we have most of our viewers, you know, bringing in questions and comments regarding the earlier conversation. Now, let's take it from the construction phase. I think that's where we left off.
That's right.
From our previous conversation. And you spoke a little about the foundation stage. What really happens again at the foundation stage, for the sake of those who are now watching part 2?
Yes, so just to recap, the foundation stage is very, very critical in any construction stage, because it's the foundation that carries the entire building.
Right.
And so it's the stage where everything must be spot on. The build must be according to specifications, according to drawings.
Right.
During the foundation stage, the structural engineer would have detailed out very clearly how the reinforcements must be arranged. All right. A combination of the iron rods, which we call the reinforcement, and concrete is what gives the strength and holds the weight that comes onto the ground. Because don't forget, you have a structure that is sitting on the ground,
Right.
and that structure has 2 things: dead load and live load. The dead load is the weight of the structure itself, and then the live load will be any other movable items that will come into the building after it's been put up.
Right.
So human beings, furniture, and anything else that is movable. All right. So you have 2 loads all playing a part in exerting effort on the ground, and that ground should be able to withstand the load that is coming. And so it's a very important stage. And again, any design would have taken into account those 2 loads to define the reinforcements and to define the type of concrete. Concrete is not just concrete. There are different mixes of concrete.
Right.
Okay, and those mixes support different weights or support different loads. So all of that would have been specified for you as a builder, so that you don't go and pour a weak concrete where you need a stronger concrete. So foundations are very important. You dig the ground, you lay out your reinforcement, you pour the appropriate concrete mix, and allow for the appropriate period for what we call curing.
Okay.
Curing is the hardening process of concrete, and concrete hardens depending on time periods. Okay. So we have a certain time frame within which concrete attains its highest strength and things like that. So all of that play into what you do at the foundation, and it's a very critical point in the entire construction process.
Talk to us more about the types of concrete. I hear you You people sometimes attach numbers to them.
Yes.
What do they mean?
Okay, so I mean, concrete is basically a mixture of sand, aggregates, or what commonly is called stones, but we call them aggregates. So you have sand, you have aggregates, and then you have cement. All right, and then you add water to it to give it the texture that makes it easy to pour. You can have concrete mixes 1:2:4, or 1:3:6, or 1:1.5. All of that shows you how many parts of cement do you use against sand and against aggregates.
Right.
So those numbers just indicate that in terms of proportions, if I used, say, 1 bucket of sand, how many buckets of cement should I use, and how many buckets of aggregate? So it's just a ratio that helps you to have a fair idea of the proportions, in the mix, to give you the kind of strength that you want.
Right. Now, Kwabena, at the design stage, we're going back to the design stage, but then in relation to the design of the foundation for a building, what do you take into consideration when you're designing the foundation of a building?
One of the key things you like to look at is the soil, as in the substructure on which you're going to put the foundation. What kind of substructure is it? Is it sand? Are you building on sand? Are you building on clay soil? Are you building on rocks?
Okay.
Each of these will determine the kind of foundation that will be designed and selected.
So, for example, I come with my family to Buena Vista Homes. We need a 4-bedroom house. How that impacts the kind of foundation, the design of the foundation you put. Earlier, Sami mentioned some structures are such that you could have two-story up, 2-story down. How does that impact the foundation you do? Because it's like the bedrock of how the building is going to look like. I know you understand this better.
I do. I think for the person who comes to Buena Vista to come and buy a home, that is the least of your problems you worry about, because that is why we are there.
Right.
So we have a team of professionals who have done all the work for you. You don't have to worry about it. You don't even have to ask that question.
Okay.
Because essentially we've taken care of it, and we give you a lifetime guarantee that your building will withstand whatever soil, and so that's not an issue you need to even worry about at all.
There could be various reasons for which a building will collapse. I wouldn't only put it to rush. It could equally be as a result of wrong mixes, or poor workmanship, or using the wrong materials. So there are various things. But again, in your foundation, what you need to do is to give it the utmost care. Pay attention to details. Whatever has been specified by the structural engineer, follow through with it.
Okay.
If you have any issues with it, ask your structural engineer. The foundation is largely designed by the structural engineers, and so they become very important when you're doing your foundation works. And what we do at Buena Vista is that we always have our structural engineers inspect every stage of the foundation works to be sure that it is according to drawing and according to specification. And if you have your structural engineers involved at that stage, I think that it will save you a lot, a lot in poor workmanship and design defects and eventual collapse.
An eventual collapse, and you don't want to get there. So talk to the expert, give us a call, talk to Buena Vista Homes, reach out to us on our website on www.mybuenahomes.com, and you get these fine aspects to tell you what to do so far as that building project is concerned. We go for a break at this point and return shortly with more. You're still live on the Buena Vista Homes Real Estate Show with me, Efia Fusua. We are back shortly to stay. Is the aspect is the right place to buy a home, that home that you intend to buy, right? So we're also streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. Do well to give us a follow, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, just so you don't miss any of our episodes. I still have with me Kwabena Nyako and Samuel Ewu talking to us about the building process in real estate, right? So let's continue with we've spoken at length about the foundation, yes, and what goes into it and all of that. What then is the next phase so far as the building process is concerned?
All right, so once you are done with your foundation, you may want to lay your foundation walls.
Right.
All right, you may lay your foundation walls and then do what we call filling, you know, filling up to bring the structure to the ground floor level. You know, when you enter your room, the floor, the first floor, what we call the floor bed. Okay, so you fill up to floor bed, and then you cast the bed itself. Okay. That once you are done and cast the floor bed, that wraps one stage which we call substructure.
Okay.
So the substructure actually starts from floor bed down to anything below it. Okay. All right, and that wraps up. So most people would, if they were doing their own buildings, will do their foundation, you know, fill it, and then cast the floor slab, and then they take a breather.
Okay.
They breathe a bit and gather up resources to continue the work, because that ushers them into the next phase of the building, which is the superstructure. Right. Most of the time, the substructure looks, you would have spent so much money there, but you don't get to feel like you have built yet. It is when the superstructure begins to evolve, that you begin to see the real things, you know, that makes you happy and makes you smile.
Oh,
you know, at that point, then you feel now you're seeing, you know, something coming up. Yes.
Okay, so the instances where people build and then there's dampness, the instances where there are ants in the room, would you relate that to certain construction failures at the foundation stage?
All right, it depends on the ground condition at the time you're building. Some of the water for some places the water table can be high, but it is also at the point where you cannot say you are relocating the build. Yet we have various means by which you can take care of such scenarios. You know, in substructure, you can do what we call the damp-proof membrane. A damp-proof membrane is a membrane that kind of becomes like a stopper to rising water. Okay. All right. Recently, we have lots of other paints that have also been developed that are anti, water. So you use all of these to ensure that water doesn't rise into the house itself.
And you don't want to go through all of this stress. Please give us a call. Give Buena Vista Homes a call. Give us a call just so you don't have to go through all the stress. We'll put your property burdens on our shoulders. Put them on the shoulders of Kwabena and Sabi, and they'll get you sorted out. Right. So Kwabena, let's talk about the superstructure stage. I like the word superstructure. What happens at that phase?
The superstructure, to build on what Sami said, is essentially everything that comes above the floor, which the ground floor, supposedly. So it will involve, depending on how complex your building is, if you have several layers and several floors, it will involve the erection of formwork and reinforcements. You pour in the concrete, and then you do your decking for the next slab. So it's just a series of activities that encompass everything that comes up above the ground floor, presumably the ground floor slab.
Why do some buildings collapse even at the construction stage?
It could be a combination of issues, ranging from poor workmanship to a weak mix of concrete, or not using the right reinforcements, as we commonly call them, iron rods, right sizes and the right spacing. It could be lack of adequate curing time. You know, concrete cures in a certain period of time. If you don't allow that and you start to, you know, do your other works. So it's a mix of, it could be anything, you know. So if a building collapses, the technical people will come in, and if they have to do an investigation, they look at various parameters, and so that they can pinpoint what caused the building to collapse.
So at the superstructure stage, what are some of the common mistakes you see people do at that stage?
I would say if they don't strictly follow the drawings and the specifications, it could be mistakes to do with heights. If you know you don't follow the drawings and you presumably do what you want, you could have what you talked about, where you have inadequate heights in rooms. It could be if your decking is not done properly, you can have warped decking. So you remove your decking and you find that your floor slab is kind of...
We have instances like that.
It happens all the time.
That would be a dangerous room to live in.
It happens all the time. So there are various construction mistakes people make as you go along. So it's important to work with your professionals and make sure that they have a constant eye on whatever the contractor is doing.
Please, you don't want to have a dancing foundation in your room. You don't want to go through all of that. Give Buena Vista Homes a call. We have the number displayed on the screen, 0303-401-401. The other number is 050-130-4728. Also reach out to us on our website, www.mybuenahomes.com. We are social. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter as well. Sammy, so we've done our superstructure. What then do we do next?
All right, so like Kobna said, anything above the floor slab is actually part of the superstructure. But superstructure would start with raising the columns and all of that, block walls and all. But after that, you want to cover the building. You want to put a roof over it.
Right.
So the roof becomes the next thing that you would want to do. Put a covering. And once you have a roof over your head, you're almost close to having a home.
What's the motivation behind why you use the shingles at Buena Vista Homes?
Okay, I mean, shingles are very light material to start with. I mean, it's a bituminous felt material.
Right.
All right. So the weight it puts on the building frame is lighter than some other roof material. Then again, because it's bituminous, you can use shingles to easily form various shapes. Okay. It's easier. They're easily moldable. So you can create any roof shapes and put a shingle over it, and you're good to go.
Because so you see, when we say homes are not built at Buena Vista Homes, but they are crafted, now you have a better appreciation for all of this entails. Look at the planning that goes into your roofing, your substructure, your superstructure, and everything. What more could you ask for? Please give us a call now. Reach out to Buena Vista Homes on the numbers displayed on your screen. Let's go for a quick break. When we return, we'll wrap up the conversation. You're still watching the Buena Vista Homes Real Estate Show with me, Efia Fusua. We are back shortly.
Once you're done with your roofing, essentially you've created an environment where you've cut out the rain. So just from the building's perspective, other works can then commence, within the building. So you're looking mainly at plumbing works, electrical works. So here, depending on again how complex it is, but I'll just use the example of a simple residential building. You start to have your pipe works go into the walls, because you obviously at that stage would have done your walls, your concrete block walls as well. So that's when you put in your first, what we call the first fix. So all your pipe works go in, your plumbing. Again, use your professionals to determine the right size of pipes to go into the walls. And then your electrical works go in. You can also commence some of your ceiling work, so your ceiling grates, which essentially is what is going to hold up your ceiling, you know, because now that you've finished your roof covering, you can have all your first ceiling works going. That has to be done before the plastering starts if you're using concrete blocks. There are other walling materials you can use, but if we're using the example of the concrete blocks, at that stage, once your first, all your pipe works, air conditioning, pipes, everything that needs to go in is done, then you can start your plastering, you know.
Right. Wow. So already I'm picturing, I mean, at this stage you'd be very excited, because then all the money you've been pumping into the project
yes, you start to see it come together, you know.
Yes.
Start to see it come together.
So Sammy, wrap it up for us. After the fixes, all the external and internal works, what do we do next?
Then you come to finishings.
Okay.
You're looking at floor finishes, wall finishes, ceiling finishes, and then you conclude with your painting works.
Okay.
There are options for the kinds of finishings that you want to use. At that point, mostly we engage with clients to see or to get their input as to what they prefer for types of, if it's tiles for floors, what kind of tiles they like. Some of them have preferences for colors, for instance. And particularly the ladies are very interested in what goes into their kitchen.
Their kitchen.
As for kitchen and bathrooms.
Okay.
So you would always want to be sure that you don't surprise them.
So you speak to the lady.
You have to speak to the lady.
You don't want trouble.
No, you have to speak to the lady.
Okay.
Actually, when it comes to home purchase,
okay,
all right, it's the woman who buys, but the man pays for it.
Oh, that sounds
so,
good.
Yes. So usually when a lady and a gentleman walks to my space, I'm always looking at how the lady reacts.
The
because if the lady wants it, the gentleman will pay for it.
He will pay for it.
Yes.
Wow.
For his piece.
I agree.
But that's on the lighter side of it. But so the ladies are more particular about their kitchen and then their bathrooms.
Right.
And usually it's good to engage them and to find out what colors they are interested in, what kind of additional things that they want. So the finishing stage is a very interesting stage where you would want to have the customer make a very good input. We have standard finishes, but we allow the client to also make an input if they have specific preferences into the selection of certain colors and things. Then after the finishings, you are looking at fittings and fixtures.
Right.
Fittings and fixtures, you're talking about kitchen cabinets, you're talking about wardrobes, you're talking about the other plumbing fittings, lighting fixtures, those things that can give a space a signature, that can define the person and the person's preferences. You need to walk through that as well and make those choices and then get them fixed for the person.
Okay. Ordinarily, how long are buildings supposed to last? I do know of buildings in Buena Vista homes that are 20 years and over, and they're even a lot better than some buildings you see in town today. How are buildings supposed to last? Granted that you do your property management and everything.
No,
right?
actually, if it's done very well, it should go 100 years and over.
Wow.
Yes, buildings should. If everything was done properly from the beginning, 100 years and over, a building should still be standing.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. Interesting. A question came to mind, but I'll hold on for our next episode But thanks so much for joining us on this edition of the Buena Vista Homes Real Estate Show. It's always a pleasure talking to you. The wealth of knowledge and everything you've shared, I'm sure our viewers have learnt a lot as well. And so we have a lot more episodes coming up for you on the Buena Vista Homes Real Estate Show. I have an engaging Kwabena Nyako and Samuel Ewu, who are the brains behind the Buena Vista Homes brand. Get in touch with us on our website. You can check on our projects, www.mybuenahomes.com. Send us a message, your comments, your questions and everything on all our social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. Just search for Buena Vista Homes and you'll find us. Also, you can reach out to us on 0303 401 401. My name is Efia Fosua. We are back same time next week with another Power Packed edition.